would have to fit around her, not the other way round. She wouldn't sacrifice herself at the altar of family, and she would never lose her sense of self for anyone. Falling. Chapter 1. For as long as she could remember, Shay Bastable had felt like the equivalent of a sandwich filling, which had got more and more compressed over the years until her once fresh and jaunty ingredients had been squashed into a pâté by the 2 fat slices of bread at either side of her. She didn't resent her life, that was just how it was. Her presence was there to be central in order to hold the sandwich unit together, to glue, to serve, to bind. But she did feel somewhat relieved at the outer slices relaxing their press upon her over the past year. Her 23-year-old son, Sonny, had left the family home 9 months ago to live with his fiancée, Caroline, and her daughter had packed up and moved out to flat share with her best friend 6 months later. Shay had expected her back within 24 hours, but nope, there was silence on that front, and with Courtney, no news was good news. She hadn't cried when Courtney had left home, but she'd sobbed buckets when Sonny had, cried until the salt had made her cheeks red and raw. Not because she loved her son any more than her daughter, but because he was easier to love. He'd been hard work, as all kids are, but his sweet, easy disposition, his affection had been enough reward to sweep away the fatigue. 22-year-old Courtney was Mercury personified, a shapeshifter. Her beliefs, hair, fashion, likes and dislikes changed with the wind, and Shay had stopped trying to figure her out and had to stand back and let her find her place. Because, as she herself had once thought, parents knew nothing. They had grown out of the ways of the present world and were no longer in touch with it, their accrued wisdom of little value. 2 very different children who had been raised exactly the same way and yet had turned out polar opposites. She knew, of course, that children were not the sum of their mothers' and fathers' influences, because she and her elder sister Paula had been brought up in the same household, yet apart from the equivalent number of limbs and head, there weren't a lot of other similarities between them. Shay's parents had divorced only 5 years ago, in their 70s. Roberta Corrigan had settled well into single life, although she kept her relative independence, thanks only to the amount of scaffolding her younger daughter supplied to hold it in place. Shay went to visit her mother every day. Sometimes she'd bob up in the morning, but she was always there at tea time to cook her a meal, sort out her tablets for the following day, and ensure she was warm and safe for the night. There was more and more memory slippage going on, but the doctor had said that as long as Roberta was remembering the important things like turning off hobs and locking doors, not to be too troubled by the fact that she couldn't remember who the Prime Minister was or her 12 times table. Plus, she had wonderful neighbours who kept an eye out for each other. Their neighbourhood watch made the SAS look like a bunch of amateurs. Shay pulled up outside her mother's house and noticed that building work had commenced next door. It had been expected, of course. Why else would there have been a huge orange skip parked on their drive for the past 2 rain-sodden weeks? Odd couple, her mum's neighbours. Middle-aged and reclusive, they stuck out like a pair of sore thumbs from the sociable elderly residents of Merriment Close. The close had always lived up to its name. It had been a happy cul-de-sac of 10 bungalows, an outer circle of dwellings around an inner round of green, which the pensioners themselves maintained to an impeccable standard. Then, last year, Doris at 1A had died, and her daughter had sold the bungalow to the doer Drew and Anne Bowles, who did not wish to engage with their neighbours on any level. Christmas cards to them had not been reciprocated, hellos in passing not returned, invitations to join the Residents' Association ignored. When Shay walked into the house, it was to find her mother standing at the window, eyes glued to the skip as if trying to outstare it in a competition in the hope it would melt away in defeat. She had been strangely fascinated by it since it landed, without being able to explain why, but it had obviously triggered something in her cloudy mind. What are they doing, do you think? All afternoon they've been flinging bricks in that orange thing. What's it called? It's a skip, Mum, and I suspect they'll be having some building work done, which is why people usually hire them. They'll fill it, and then it will be gone, out of your way forever. Now, is there anything you fancy for tea? You'll be able to see it from space, that thing, said Roberta, ignoring the tea question. I can see it every time I look through the window, all shouty and orange. Then don't look through the window.